you a great person? Not bad to look at, but have a hard time breaking the ice? We've got your number. Call and meet lots of new people, or just listen in. Maybe you're fresh out of a relationship and ready to meet new people. We've got your number. Call Party Line and meet up to 8 people at a time. Sick of the single scene? We've got your number.
I'm so glad I called.
Me too. I really like your laugh.
Let's do it again soon.
Call now. A lot of great people are waiting to meet you. $3 plus toll if any.
Whenever I feel like a great tasting meal, I go back to Del Taco again.
And you'll come back for our new Big Del Burrito. It's bustin' with natural cheddar cheese, savory beans, pure sour cream, lettuce, tomato, and spicy beef. Big Del Burrito. It's the biggest value in town.
Del Taco's hot stuff, I just can't get enough, so I'm back in Del Taco again. Hot stuff.
They've played a part in just about every horror movie, just like the token black guy. Their fate is sealed to a brutal death just because they're hot and dumb. So what if Casey forgot to lock the door? Home invasion and trespassing are illegal, and that should be enough to deter a mass killer, right? So what if Marcy ran out into the rain wearing nothing but her underwear? Are you telling me you haven't done the same? Because I do every night in my backyard while proudly singing the American anthem. So what if Chloe went to the woods in high heels, tripped and fell as a killer came behind her? How was she supposed to know that the woods would be inhabited by a serial killer? Who plans for that? I mean, it's not like there are bears and other predators to watch out for. Bimbo lives matter. These hot, sexy, brainless women are treated like a joke, like a piece of eye candy, and killed off as if they're not even a person. So I say it's time to make a stand and say, Bimbo lives matter. And this totally has nothing to do with me wanting a movie where a bunch of strippers beat up Jason and Michael Myers. Nothing at all. Bimbo lives matter.
And now, an exciting message from Burger King.
We know you're watching the game, but you're waiting for something more exciting. Ready? Broiling beef frying nearly 2-to-1 in a coast-to-coast survey. Not better than baseball? Think about it. Nearly 2 out of 3 people chose broiling. Burger King broils. McDonald's and Wendy's fry. Okay, now back to baseball. But the second it's over, everybody up. Click off your sets. Come on to Burger King.
It's known that Bannadyne has conducted classified biological research for the National Security Organization. Any reason for our viewers to be concerned?
None whatsoever. Although the research animals which were kept here have been destroyed, absolutely no toxic elements have been released.
Who escaped?
GH3.
The dog?
And one of the Oxcoms.
Are the Oxcom and the dog still telepathically linked?
On a biofrequency that only the Oxcom can receive.
Travis Cornell made a new friend today. And it may just cost him his life.
The dog was like a homing device. The creature, a search and destroy missile.
You know what happened to Tracy's, don't you?
Travis had a dog. No pets.
Travis, is that you?
Going? How you guys doing? Mr. Deadman here. Welcome to the Deadman Horror Show. And tonight we're going to get into some sick, sadistic serial killer here. Robert Hansen. Yeah, so tonight, I mean, this episode is going to be a little bit like a true crime show. but also a horror show. It definitely is. You ever think about the fact that these serial killers that we talk about, because we're going to be talking a lot more, I'm sure, as this show goes on. But you ever think about that, the fact that when we look at these serial killers, no one knew who they were. No one knew that they were a sadistic, merciless killer. No one knew that. In fact, some of them they seem average looking. They seem normal. They seem nice even. Maybe even polite. Maybe they're a family man. And Robert Hansen, he's one of them. He's one. He was a married man, and he had kids. And in his married home, he would rape and torture many, many women. Like, the count is insane. We're talking at least 17 young women. As young as 16. This guy is sick. But over there in Anchorage, Alaska, I mean, I guess you can kind of get away with that stuff. I guess you could do that for a while. I mean, I suppose so. Because the guy did it for 12 years. For 12 years. Without any difficulty. It must be easy. Anyway. So yeah, we're going to get into that tonight. How you guys doing? Timothy Olsen, it's good to see you. Let's see, because the average person has a combo of psycho and sociopathic that is psycho killers can blend in. That's right. That's right. Just kind of blend in, man. All right. Let me go ahead and put his image on the screen here, and we'll get into this. Robert Hansen. Definitely not one of the Hansen twins. Jesus Christ. Oh, God. Murderous little bastard, this guy. Did things that Ethan Ralph, the Gunt, would love to do, I'm sure. I'm reference that guy. Anyway. So imagine this. You're a 17-year-old girl. You're on your own. You ran away from home. You ran away from home because maybe your mom is out doing God and only God knows what. Maybe your mom is sucking dudes off for money. Maybe she's off doing drugs. Maybe she's working. I don't know. But your mom is not home. She's not at home. Who's home? Your deadbeat dad. He does nothing but get drunk every single night. Not only does he get drunk, but when you try to tell him that his brother, your uncle, has been getting a little handsy with you whenever he gives you hugs, and he very awkwardly makes sure that you can't say no, your dad doesn't care. All he does is continue to drink more. So what do? Well, you run. You get out of there. You try to escape home. Why stay there when you can just go on the road? Find a place to go. That's what you do. But now, as a 17-year-old girl out there on the road, you got to find a way to make money. And we call it a curse, call it a blessing. But you, by your very nature, by the way you look, you have something that can bring in the money. Some quick cash. All right. So you do it. Maybe you start off working at a club. Maybe you start off as an exotic dancer at a topless bar. Okay. But that brings in the creeps. And it brings in the rape. And it eats away at your soul. And it could cost you your life. But fuck it. You have to do it. You have to get by. Now, during this career, as a titty dancer, you find there's more money in being an escort. I mean, sure, you can get dollar bills for showing your tits, but you can get some real cash by blowing a guy. Okay. And you meet many, many men. Some are nice, some are mean, but then you meet a man that looks nice. He has a stutter. He looks harmless. He looks like he was picked on when he was a kid in school. He looked like one of those nerdy kids that just kind of grew up. Okay. You can see his face where the acting used to be. You don't think he's serious. You don't think he's a predator. I mean, he's harmless. And he's offering you $200 to suck his dick. So, I mean, if you're 17, you might say yes to that. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of money. So you say yes to that. Besides, you're out there in the cold. You're out there in Alaska. So you say yes. And you get in. And the moment you get in, the moment you step into the car, you got a handcuff on your wrist and a gun in your face. That's how he did it. That's how he did it. Some variation like that. I'm telling you, man, as young as 16, usually 17, some as old as 22. The guy liked him young is a real creep. Real disgusting piece of shit. And you can see just how easy it is for someone like this to operate. I wouldn't be surprised if something like this is happening now. And while most serial killers would, I guess, stalk and prey and kill and dump the body somewhere, this guy takes it up a notch. Yeah, he does the stalking. He does the praying. He does the torture and the rape. I mean, got to add in again. In his own home, where his wife and kids are at. He's just in the basement. That begs a lot of questions, doesn't that? But we'll get into that, I'm sure. But not only does he do that, he likes hunting. He likes hunting big game. He's an avid hunter. And he wants to take his victims out there into the wilderness, but not anywhere. Because he really doesn't want to give them a chance to flee. He wants them to think they do. So he takes them out there to a particular spot where it's foresty and all that. But it's surrounded by two rivers, kind of forked as it's going to, I don't know, the ocean or something, or a lake, or okay, not the ocean, but you know what I'm saying. It's forked off. The only way to get out is to swim, to cross icy cold waters, wearing next to nothing. And the only way to access this particular spot is by plane. Well, it just so happens, of course, Robert Hansen is a pilot, and he has his own plane. So that's why I think this guy is on a whole other level when it comes to serial killing. He wasn't just killing. He was hunting. He was playing with his victims. You want to play a game? The jigsaw? This guy was doing that. Except he wasn't doing torture devices. He was taking them out there, let them go, be like, all right, run. And hunt them with a hunting rifle. What would you do in that situation? What would you do if you were in that situation? You're a 17-year-old girl. You've just been raped and tortured. The guy flies you out to this place, uncuffs you, says you can go, you can flee. You go run around barefoot, freezing to death, trying to find a way out. You go one way, you hit water. You go another way, you hit water. You try to flee again. You hide behind trees. The guy's shooting at you. You hear the gunshots go off. He's on your trail. He's coming after you. He's gonna fucking kill you. You spend hours trying to escape. You'll find more water. At this point, with the elements kicking in, being out there for so long, starving, freezing to death. You give up. You give up. But let me ask you this. What would you do if you were in that situation? If a serial killer like this guy raped and tortured you, let you out, would you not try to swim across? Would you not try? Yeah, you might freeze. You'd probably freeze to death in that water. But your alternative is to turn around and just get shot. Oh, man. This guy. And apparently these hunts would last for apparently these hunts would last for days. Make a whole game of it. It wasn't just some quick little hunt. It wasn't like, oh, okay, within 5 minutes he's going to shoot you down or whatever. No. He lets you go, and he's trying to hunt you. He wants to try to find you and all that. Yeah, okay. Now, some of these girls, they try to hide. They try to hide for their life, man. It's 17. 17 victims, at least. At least. Well, Robert Hansen made a mistake, as serial killers usually do. Maybe he got too comfortable. I mean, with 17 dead bodies under your belt, I suppose you do at that point. I mean, I'm pretty sure if you're a serial killer and you have 17 dead bodies in your own little hunting range, you're pretty convinced that nothing bad is gonna ever happen to you because I guess no one cares. But one of his victims, Cindy Paulson, she ran away. She got out. She got out before she was taken to that little small spot, the place to be hunted. Yeah, she was picked up with a $200 to suck his dick. Taken to his marital home. Taken to the basement, where he raped and tortured her several times. Meanwhile, the wife and the kids were in the home. And the wife claimed that she never knew that Robert Hansen was doing these things. What? How do you not know that? How do you not know what your husband is doing or where he's going? But okay. You know, with that said, this guy is still much more of a father than Ethan Ralph, the Gunt. Because at least he actually provided a home for his kids. I'm just saying. The Gunt. I'm sure we could talk about him in the horror show. It is an abomination of a creature. The Gunt doesn't even care about his kids. Doesn't even want to be a father. Doesn't even try. Anyway. Yeah, so Cindy Paulson, after being raped and tortured like that, he takes her to the airplane where he's loading up this hunting rifle, his guns. Moment where she can escape. So she flees. She gets out of there. She's running barefoot. She's trying to get out. Obviously, Robert chases her down, tries to, but she makes it to the highway. Before he can catch up and gets a ride. She's gone. She's out of there. She is the one that escaped. She's the one that escaped that could tell the story to try to get this guy down. To try to stop this all. Thing is, Robert Hansen's killing spree went from 1970 to 1983. We're talking about 11 or 12 years. her escape, even though she fled. I mean, he was still trying to do his stuff. He was still trying. God, I mean, actually, she was one of the last victims, but he was still trying. Like, he was still going around looking for, hookers and escorts and all that, picking them up. Because he wouldn't always take them to the hunting grounds. If he wasn't in the mood, then it felt like hunting, then it felt like doing the whole thing. Maybe the wife was getting a little curious about what he's doing. He would just, rape, torture, and then release him back into the wild. I mean, back onto the street and be like, don't tell anybody, otherwise I'll kill you. Stuff like that. So sometimes he'll do that. He didn't always kill his victims. But yeah, when she got out, she made it to the hotel. The driver dropped her off at the hotel she was staying at. The hotel management called the police. You see this girl hardly dressed. I mean, just wearing her underwear pretty much. Underwear and bra. Just run into a motel room. You call. The police come. They get her story. And her story sounds outrageous. She's frantic. She's talking about how she was held by gunpoint. She's talking about how she was raped and tortured numerous times in this guy's basement. Was able to describe it. Couldn't say the guy's name necessarily. Couldn't say his name. But could describe how he looked. Could describe every little detail of the home, his car, the airplane. Could identify the airplane at the airport. So the police had a lead on this guy. They looked into him. They looked into this Robert Hansen guy because she could identify the airplane. So the local PD, the local Anchorage Police Department, go look into this guy. The problem is here, though. The reason why Robert Hansen's known as the Butcher Baker is because he's a baker. He had his own little bakery shop. Which you're probably already putting two to two together there. Wait a second. The guy who has a little bakery shop in town, the police probably visit that place quite often for donuts and all this stuff. Sounds so cliche, but that's what's happening. The same police that investigated him were the same police that would visit the guy, would frequently, interact with the guy on a daily basis. So there's already some bias there. Like, is it really him? What? No way. He's harmless. He's not capable of doing that. The thing is, Cindy's story, the details of it sound pretty convincing. I mean, she's able to identify this stuff. She's putting together the story. I mean, in their perspective, it sounds crazy, right? Okay, held by gunpoint. He was torturing and raping you. Okay. But when they go to investigate his home, and they go investigate the basement and all that, they see no traces of that. They don't see any traces of, blood or any blanket or that apparently she was, that she had wrapped around her. No evidence of any of that stuff. Cindy even claimed that her shoes were left in the back of Robert's car. No, they weren't there either. Okay. So at this point, and being that she's a lady of the night, a hooker, I mean, her word is kind of like what? It's kind of suspect. It is what it is. There's a very big lack of trust there. So they don't believe. They kind of just let it go. Cindy goes off her own way, kind of disappears for a while. And the police pretty much shut it down. Anchorage PD shut it down, except for one officer who was determined to continue on investigating this thing. He was curious about this Robert guy. Like, how did she even
She didn't say his name, didn't know the name, but knew his mannerisms, his stutter, knew exactly how he looked, knew what the inside of his house looked like. Of course, Robert's alibi was that, okay, yeah, he did try to pay her. He did try to bring her over to have sex with her, but she was charging too much. It didn't happen. Boom. Okay. Now see, something else was happening in the background while all this was going down. A lot of bodies are being found. A lot of bodies are being found in Alaska. They're outside of Anchorage, so the state police are investigating that. Alaska state troopers are investigating those things. And it's more bodies than usual. See, it's not unusual for dead bodies to be found in Alaska because it's very easy to, well, I guess die in Alaska. I mean, think about it. You're walking out in the wilderness, what can kill you? Well, even the elements themselves can kill you. Just freezing to death can kill you. Or a bear could kill you. You know, it's not uncommon to find dead bodies out there in the wilderness in Alaska. But it was getting to be a little too much. I mean, it was quite many, especially with 223 rounds, shells near them. So it was like, they looked like they've probably been shot. One a little too many. This gets the state police curious about this guy. This gets local police, the Anchorage PD, the one officer that was determined to keep this thing going, reached out to them, gave them his file. Was like, look into this. I can't do anything else with this, but here's what I have. And that kick-started an FBI investigation where they looked into this guy, and eventually, it took some time, but eventually, they reinvestigated him. It was hard. If Robert Hansen hadn't confessed, if he hadn't confessed during the interrogations, they wouldn't have any real evidence. You see, the only thing that was really linking Robert Hansen to his victims were, at best, like little souvenirs he'd take off of their body. Not body parts. Body parts are identifiable, but little things like a necklace or an earring, something like that. No IDs or anything. Nothing that would give it away. Okay, but something that he could put on his wall, like a hunter would. Something that he could look and recognize and remember. Yeah, that was Tiffany. I remember when I shot her when she was 16. Or that's Ashley. She was 20. Okay. It was difficult for them to nail this guy. They were really trying. But he confessed. He eventually confessed. So I guess sometimes the FBI does some good things. Look at that. Robert Hansen. Now let me ask you guys this. With Robert Hansen doing this, like I said, he was married, he had kids. Do you still consider Robert Hansen to be more of a father than Ethan Ralph, the Gunt of the kill stream? I do. And do you actually believe that the wife didn't know anything that was going on? At all? That's weird. That's really weird. And let's talk about this Robert Hansen guy. And we can talk about his backstory. You know, every serial killer has an interesting backstory, right? But then it all kind of seems about the same, though, right? So we're gonna play a little game with this. So Robert Hansen was born in 1983. He's the son of a Danish immigrant. His father was a baker. He followed his father's footsteps and became a baker. He also, well, he had a passion for hunting big game that he picked up later. Now, his backstory. Let me ask you a couple questions here. I'm going to ask you some questions, and you tell me what you think. True or false, okay? Knowing what you know about Robert Hansen and the story of his crimes and all that. True or false? Robert Hansen's favorite game to play at school was tag. He specifically liked to play tag with the girls, and they loved playing with him. True or false? False, right? I mean, it's so cliche. It's so cliche. It writes itself. What? Like every other serial killer. I mean, just about anyway. I guess there's exceptions. Hansen got nothing. He had no play with the girls. What? He couldn't even play with the boys. Girls, boys, what? They made fun of him at school. He was the freaking nerd. He was the four eyes. He was the acne kid with the bad stutter. He was like Worski, if you know who Worski is. They made fun of him. They all did. But now, what if I were to ask you this, true or false? Though he had a weird childhood, awkward time at school, Hansen eventually grew out of that and developed a smooth voice that only improved as he aged. And attracted the ladies to him like moths to a light. Well, that would be false. That would be false. I mean, his victim that got away is still described him as having a stutter and being kind of meek and nerdy and seemed like he was harmless. You know, I wouldn't be surprised if she explained to the officer, being like, while she's crying, be like, you know, if he was in high school with me, I probably would have given him a wedgie. You know, I probably would have made fun of him. You know, it's like the guy was a clown in high school. The guy was bullied. Okay. You know, that's the whole cliche thing, right? With serial killers. Oh, he had a rough childhood. You know, they'll be like, oh, maybe the dad hurt him, abused him, maybe the mom abused him. And sometimes that's true. This one, in this case, it's, oh, he had a bad school age. You know, his time in school was horrible. He was picked on. It sounds like more like a Columbine kid than anybody, right? Sounds like a Columbine kid. What? His backstory is embarrassing. It's sad. It's sad in a pathetic way. Hansen is more in common with the Columbine kids in the fact that he was picked on and made fun of, was bullied, to the point to where later on in his adult years, after he's graduated from high school and he becomes a drill sergeant, he gets enlisted in the U.S. Army Reserve for a year, but then he gets discharged. Then he rejoins as a drill sergeant, but after that, I guess he still has all that rage pent up inside him. He wants to set fire to the bus barn at the school he grew up at, or the school he went to when he was growing up. Wow. Talk a rat in a cage, right? Couldn't get over that. Why the bus barn? Why the bus barn? Yeah, that was December 1960. Hansen burned down a school bus garage because it reminded him of the time he was given atomic wedgies on the bus. A time when all the kids would make fun of him, pick on him, beat him up for his lunch money, beat him up for his lunch. And maybe the bus driver was involved in that too. I'm telling you, man, this guy's story is embarrassing and sad. And there's something else about this guy. You see, when he went to Anchorage, before Cindy escaped and told her story to help get him busted, that was the beginning. That was the beginning of his downfall. Before that even happened, Robert Hansen already had interactions with the law involving rape, involving assaulting women. So, I mean, it sounded like he had a clean criminal history. Now, I mean, you did a background check on him. You're like, well, you know, he has history of beating women and raping them. So, I mean, he might be it. Maybe we should investigate this guy even further. But, you know, like I said, the Anchorage police, they were sort of biased there. I mean, that would probably explain it. Either incompetent or biased in that he was just the neighborhood baker and everyone liked his donuts. He had some of the best donuts, best bread in town. He couldn't kill anybody. It's not going to be him. Don't worry about that. But once again, it sounds very cliche for any sort of murder mystery. It's always the person you least suspect. Right? Come on. Yeah. About the arson about the arson thing with Robert Hansen. He did serve some time there. He did serve some time where he was diagnosed with bipolar and schizophrenia. So look at that. Even has mental health issues. Well, obviously he has mental health issues. You see what he's, we know about his past, a troubled childhood. Oh, troubled time at school. Okay. Very cliche, writes itself. But yeah, when he was in prison, doing some time for the arson, he saw a specialist, a psychiatrist, that evaluated him. Okay, it's okay. Depression, bipolar disorder, schizophrenic episodes. They described him as being infantile. When I say they, I'm talking about the experts, the supposed experts. They described Robert Hansen as being infantile. Like he can't release a grudge. He can't let go of a grudge. If you do something to him to slight him, in the slightest, if you do something that he feels is an insult in the slightest, he's going to try to get back at you. He's going to try to find a way to get you back, to own you. At what cost? Well, I mean, kind of reminds me of someone else. It reminds me of Ethan Ralph, the Gunt of the kill stream. I'm starting to wonder here if the Gunt doesn't have the capability to be a serial killer. Does he? Not like this guy anyway. This guy had a plane. He lived out there in Alaska. Yeah. A whole other thing. Ethan, the Gunt, which we'll talk about in more detail in a future Deadman horror show. I don't think he has the capability to be a serial killer on this guy's level. If anything, Ethan Ralph will just have a backyard filled with demon babies that he aborted after birth because he doesn't want to take care of them. Sounds horrible, right? Well, that's why in the next episode of the Deadman Horror Show, we're going to be telling Gunt stories, Gunt campfire stories. It'll be great. Be fun. We have a whole lot of fun there. Anyway, back to Robert Hansen. Let's see. In December 1971, he was arrested twice for first for abducting and attempting to rape an unspecified housewife. It's later found out that was his wife, What? What? And his wife, like, his wife is... that charge is dropped, okay? That charge ended up being dropped. But yeah, he was charged for abducting and attempting to rape his own wife. How did that happen? Well, if you're very controlling and very, if you're a bad guy who likes to try to abuse his own wife, beat her up, knock her up with your fists and stuff when she says, no, I'm not in the mood because you smell like you reek of prostitutes. Last time we had sex, you had crabs crawling off your dick. Like, no, we're not doing that. Like, I don't know what you're doing at night. You're going around. You come back late in the morning. I hear sounds in the basement. You won't let me go to the basement. Last time I went there, I saw some other girls' clothes and it looked like blood and jizz down there. So yeah, maybe she tried to leave. Maybe she tried to flee because, see, 1971. That would be around the time he started his killing spree. So it'd be around that time. So maybe she had suspicions, or maybe she had concerns, and was just like, "No, I don't want to be involved in this." But being a complete asshole, and sadistic psychopath, Robert Hansen, well, took control of his wife, and she dropped the charge. The other charge was for raping an unspecified sex worker. Now that one ended up, he took a plea deal on that one. He took a plea deal, but supposedly the charge was dropped as part of the plea deal. So, but even if that, okay, so the charges were dropped. But even with that said, if the police had looked into his criminal history, they could see that just because a charge is dropped doesn't mean it's erased from your history. Some of you guys may know that. I know that. If a charge is dropped, all it means is when someone runs your criminal history, well, they're going to see that you were arrested for something. And they're going to see the process. Oh, okay, it was dropped. Okay. Let's see. In 1976, Hansen was arrested again and sentenced for 5 years for shoplifting a chainsaw. A chainsaw. There's something I forgot to mention in these hunting ground episodes where he takes the ladies to that specific spot in the wilderness to hunt them down. He doesn't only use a gun. He also uses knives and other tools. I am curious if he was looking at that chainsaw and was wanting to add it to the many weapons he would take to his little hunting ground area. That's fucking demented. That is horrifying. Imagine being one of his victims. You're released thinking that there's a chance to flee. He gives you a count of 10 to run. Then he starts with the chainsaw, and he's coming after you. Good God. And he wants to torture you slowly. He's not going to kill you right away. When he finds you, he maims you a little bit, stabs you with a knife, maybe hits you a little bit with a chainsaw. All right, keep on running, keep on going. Fucked up. Twisted. But perfect. Perfect to talk about on the Deadman Horror Show. Great stuff for that. So yes, the next episode of the Deadman Horror Show, we're going to be reading campfire stories that are related to the Gunt. I have 2 stories already, but I wrote those stories. If you want to submit stories, feel free to do so. You can send them to the email address I provided in one of the posts. Don't worry, I'm not going to do anything with your information, or just use a burner email account or whatever. Worried about that. I know some people are really worried about, getting their stuff out there. I'll put the link, or put the email address in the chat. And if you want to send a story that's related to the gun, and it could be loosely related. Okay, and it doesn't have to be a long story. In fact, it works best if it's not a long story. Maybe it's just flash fiction. Maybe it's just a quick little thing that's kind of fucked or funny. Either way, you could talk about horse face. You could talk about the thumb, the sniffing thumb. You could talk about trash burgers. You know, the demon baby, the second demon baby, the piglet. You know, it'd be a lot of fun. I will send it here, or post it. Okay, that email address will work. You send it there, I receive it, boom. I take, we have fun reading it. Of course, I'll give you a shout out and give you credit for it. I'm not going to steal your story and try to claim it's mine. That's bullshit. All right. But yeah, we talked about this Robert Hansen guy quite extensively, I think. He's, as far as serial killers go, he's not. He doesn't have the largest body count, but he's on a whole other level in operation. In that he hunts them. He hunts his victims. He doesn't just rape and torture them and kill them. He hunts them. He plays a fucking game with them. And we're talking about, they say up to 37. That's a rumor. That's actually based on a map that was at his house. A bunch of X marks all over the map. About 37 little X marks. And those were the same spots where the bodies were found. The problem with that map, though, is some spots didn't have bodies. Now, these were shallow graves he was digging. It's quite possible that if a body wasn't found from that X spot, that maybe it was a future place to bury a body, or maybe it was found by, a wolf or something, that an animal found it and, got the bones, and it just, now it's scattered around and whatever. And a lot of these bodies, by the way, were found by happenstance. Like, they were found because of really like oil and gas stuff going on over there. Okay. Anything that requires some digging might unearth some secrets. Oh, we have a dead body. It's decomposed. It's bone and clothes now. What's its story? Anyway. You guys say he's a man of culture? Robert Hansen was a man of culture. He was totally not a fan of, he was totally not a fan of the thoughts, but he did partake in them, didn't they? This is one of the stories where when this was breaking out, the police actually had to really warn the prostitutes, hey, be careful, because there's a maniac out there that's going to kill you. But that's something that, like, prostitutes usually kind of, like, when you're in that line of work, you have to take precautions. When you go into strangers' cars, there's always that chance that stranger is going to fucking ruin you. And you're never going to come back. No one's going to see you ever again. All right, guys. Let me know. I'm going to ask you guys a question. Different from that man of culture thing. Y'all think this guy was pretty based in this. Y'all like what he did? Are you impressed with what he did? You're not gonna bother me. Do I look like I have a moral compass? Look at me, I'm literally fucking dead. He was the boogeyman, the reminder for prostitutes to not, that their line of work is not very good for them. There's not a long-term plan. It's very dangerous. You could die. Maybe they should change their ways. Do something else. Think he's doing God's work? That's what his wife said. Well, apparently his wife was very religious. And the wife did not believe that he actually did these things. So. What's that? I like that. I like how torn it is. Chauncey is doing God's work, and Timothy says, nope, he's fucked in the head. And let me tell you something. I welcome both opinions here. Because they're opinions. They're opinions. Anyway, with that said, you guys, y'all take it easy.
Are you a great person? Not bad to look at, but have a hard time breaking the ice? We've got your number. Call and meet lots of new people, or just listen in. Maybe you're fresh out of a relationship and ready to meet new people. We've got your number. Call Party Line and meet up to 8 people at a time. Sick of the single scene? We've got your number.
I'm so glad I called.
Me too. I really like your laugh.
Let's do it again soon.
Call now. A lot of great people are waiting to meet you. $3